The church will be deprived of her supreme chief who is now governing her. For a fairly long time, the church will be deprived of prayer and offices. She will be exiled by God and from his chosen ones. In deep mourning, the church will no longer hear the ringing of her bells. From the eyes of the church, I see tears of distress flowing down. Prophecy of Marie-Julie Jahenny on March 29th, 1881. Note, sedevacantist and SSPX false masses are public and ringing bells. Those with the true Pope are not. And I remember probably about 2 years ago, I knew a sedevacantist. And when I saw this prophecy or remembered this prophecy, I asked him, does your, quote unquote church, of course it is a quote unquote, but like, does your, quote unquote church, do you ring bells before, the so-called mass? And he said, yeah, they ring a bell. And I was like, interesting. And if this is to be taken, literally, like real masses are not ringing bells anywhere, that's another indicator right there that the so-called mass he's going to, it's not a real Catholic mass. Because real Catholic masses aren't ringing any bells right now. Because they're like basically not, I don't know of any public ones, and there may no longer be any public real masses. They may all really be like just in caves and barns, etc., and not ringing bells. Okay, so I say this kind of like, of course, I have a sense of humor, as some of you probably can already tell. So I say this partly with a bit of humor, but also partly quite seriously. If the so-called mass you go to is ringing bells, get out of there. Get out of there. Of course, though, I mean, you shouldn't be going to any so-called mass that is not, conducted by authorized church authority in union with the true Pope. So you shouldn't go to any sedevacantist so-called masses, SSPX so-called masses, obviously not Novus Ordo so-called masses, right? Get away from those schismatics and heretics and stuff. You're not supposed to be going to their so-called masses, okay?